gentlemen, is football. Amy Park, a venue built for these sort of occasions. It's the 48th Melbourne Derby, and this one is the biggest one of the lot. Druid's outball is a good one. Aziz Bayic. Here's Andreas Kuhn, City's first chance off the crossbar, and the follow-up is rifled into the goal by Jonathan Cohen. It is City who strike first in the grand final. Really good block. Matt Leckie at the near post, chance here for victory to get square. It's Mashash. Plenty of opportunities for victory, but as yet, no way through. Still there for Bayic, and arriving at the back post. So that's a really lovely save too.
I don't know if there's anyone tougher in the comp. He's an incredible athlete. Look at him go.
Time there's a little bit of a shit front going on. It's the latest little skirmish, the intense conversation with Daniel Arzani. And the Melbourne City fans have got their toilet seats aloft in the air. It's Teague's delivery. Back post. That was a clear-sided goal for Josh Rawlins.
It's as close as they've come.
The whistle goes. So often the bridesmaids. Melbourne City, champions of Australia for a second time.
That was last season, and thank God the world's longest off-season is over and the world's greatest league is back. And so are we on Total A-Leagues. I'm Vince Rugari. Great to have you with us for another season. Tommy, all we've expanded. We got Daniel McBreen on board this season. Welcome, Macca.
Thanks.
Nice to have a new face on.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting really low in this seat, so we're at the same height, so something I've got to get used to.
I was about to say, I wonder how long it's going to take for him to make a joke about my height, and it wasn't very long.
So absolutely outstanding. I'm proud of you, Macca. We do have Daniel McBreen here, which means we've bought out, I'm going to say, the tactician. So we've a good acquisition for us on the transfer market. So you two will be breaking down some, tactical trends or interesting little bits from on the field, and we do have some on-field stuff to talk about, which we're very much looking forward to, boys. It's here finally, a massive season ahead of us. Before we rip into everything, I just want to ask you all, what is the one thing you're looking forward to most for this coming season?
Oh, you put me on the spot. I think I'm looking forward to the resurgence of some of the teams that have maybe underperformed in the last few years, the likes of Newcastle Jets, obviously fresh off the win in the Cup, but Brisbane Roar as well. I think there's a lot to be excited about them. So yeah, I think that maybe some upsets and some surprises this season in terms of results.
I think I'm looking forward to the derbies again. Big crowd numbers. They've been growing. Auckland came in last year with set the benchmark, and I think there's going to be a few clubs. We're hearing Melbourne Victory, I think, have got over 20,000. So I think we're going to see some big crowds at some big games this year.
Yeah. For me, it's the unknown. The top 50 players in the league last season for goals and assists, 23 of them have gone. Now, you can look at that statistic in a number of different ways, but the way I choose to look at it, particularly in this mode of excitement pre-season, is that those 23 positions are going to be filled by different players, probably a lot of young players, and probably some that right in this first episode, we're probably not even going to mention them at the moment. They're not even on our radars in terms of being credible A-League players. There's going to be some unknown unknowns, as Donald Rumsfeld once said, about in terms of who is going to fill the gaps, particularly up forward for a lot of these teams, which is exciting to see. So the season is going to look a little bit different, boys. Obviously, there's 13 teams now. We're down from 13 teams to 12. Yep. We don't have Western United anymore, unfortunately. It was a bit of some pretty sad news, Macca, in the off-season, to be honest. No one wants to see this happen to a club.
No, it's not good for the club. It's not good for the league. But the good thing is they've been put into hibernation, not put out to pasture. So hopefully they get their ducks in a row. And wouldn't it be great to see two teams, them come back and another team when we have 14? I know I'm probably wishful thinking there, but look, they've been champions only a few years ago. So to see this happen, not great, but fingers crossed that they get it all sorted.
And I think the interesting thing as well is from the teams that are still in the competition, you saw a late flurry of a lot of transfer market activity in terms of, the likes of Angus Thurgate going to the Wanderers. I think there's some huge signings that happened late in the piece that kind of changed the dynamics of the whole league.
Yeah. Another positive, by the way, is no buys, which is outstanding. I think everyone's happy with that.
Yes,
I just wish it came about in a slightly different way, but that's okay. So we're going to rip through all the 12 teams this season, and we're going to break them up into chunks. So we're going to start with the teams that we both think, or all three of us, got to stop saying both, that we all think will be, nailed on title contenders. And no prizes for guessing the first one. Auckland FC who came in last season and absolutely killed it from the start, on and off the field.
Yep.
Spectacular debut season in the competition for them. They've got most of the squad on deck as well. They were pretty unlucky, I guess, in the finals. They fizzled out in a way, but I think that experience of, tasting the league for the first time, doing really well, I can't see them going too far backwards this coming season. The big question mark for me, Tommy, is how much of their success last season was down to having Alex Paulson in goals.
Yeah.
I suppose we're about to find out.
Yeah, I think that in Ollie Sale, obviously he's had a really difficult last couple of seasons with Perth. Obviously 2 wooden spoons, and not to say he was directly culpable, but we know how good he is from his time at Wellington, and I think he's a smart bit of recruitment from Steve Corica to get him back in. I do think there's question marks. I think last season was a little bit of like a honeymoon period for them. Nobody knew what to expect, and they had all that fanfare and all that excitement. 1 or 2 bad results, and that can turn quickly, which they've never had to experience. So I think that how they face and how they kind of rise up to adversity when that inevitably does come is going to be interesting.
Relative to the rest of the league, though, Macca, I still think they've got a really strong squad. Like if there were a few other teams that had squads as good as theirs, and Melbourne City, who we'll come to, I'd be more inclined to sort of think that way.
Well, yeah, and you look at how they went about it last year. It took them 7 games to concede a goal. Defences win your leagues, and that was a big benchmark that they put down that people had to get past, and they couldn't. Victory finally did. I think they've added Sam Cosgrove up front, big 6'4" striker. I think he could be influential for them to get more points at the other end of the field. When you think about the long throw-ins they have, and you think about De Vries's set pieces and his delivery from open play.
Good signing.
I think he could be really pivotal in their goal-scoring marks this season.
So City, the champions, I just can't see a universe where they're not sort of top 3 minimum.
Yeah.
And they've got Asian Champions League to deal with again as well, and they've lost a few key players for sure in Tilio Cohen and Ugarkovic, but they've got this wave of young players at the moment that
it's like a conveyor belt.
These guys have been exposed, and usually what happens is when you expose players to that level, the next season is when they start to step up, like really.
And they got exposed a lot last year to that level when they probably didn't want them to be exposed that much. And we thought, well, this is going to see City slide a little bit when they had all those injury problems with their senior players. And the young kids got them through and got them to the point. To the end of the season, I was a little bit sorry for them when all the senior players came back and did the job. But lots of the young kids. The only thing that I'm worried about is that ACL travel. Yeah, it's a hard one when you're travelling, different temperatures, and then you're coming back, maybe not getting results. That can put a dent in your confidence through the season. I
think Max Caputo, there's going to be a little bit of a reliance on him to get some of the goals, but at the same time, last year their top scorer only scored 5 goals. Everybody was chipping in, so they have kind of managed without that out-and-out Jamie McLaren type of player who does get you 20 goals. But at the same time, I think that they're not necessarily going to get away with their top scorer scoring 5 goals again. So I think there's a bit of pressure on him.
What do you reckon we're going to see, boys, from Matthew Leckie, who's gone around again? I was really surprised in a positive way that he did go around again because of the amount of injuries and stuff that he's had. And there's a World Cup on the horizon, not just for him, but for everyone. It's a long shot, but it's one of those things that I think...
Well, it's a shock he went around another year when there's a World Cup coming up. Look, injuries is the thing. Yeah, that's the one thing. If he's injury-free, he can be one of the most dominant players in the league. If not
the...
Yes, I was going to say, if not the most dominant player. We know what he can do. That grand final performance was sensational. Off the back of hardly playing all season as well. He's going to be instrumental in the way they go.
I think if he stays fit for 90% of the season, he's my pick for Johnny Warren medal.
Interesting. Well, we'll get to all that at the end. So you've given away that one. That's all good. Off to a ripping start. So the next category of teams we're going to look at, boys, is the chasers, the challengers. The first one off the rank that we'll talk about, Sydney FC. Yeah. I sat here at the start of last season and I was really confident that they'd make the finals. And
I had them winning everything. I had the golden boot.
They've lost. Obviously, the headline out is Douglas Costa. And I think we're all pretty sad to see that happen because, for me, at his best, which we didn't see often enough, but when we did, he was possibly the most dominant player in the league in terms of the way that he almost the match sort of unfolded around him and what he was trying to do. And that was, you don't often see that from players in this league. So we don't have that. But what they have instead somehow, Tommy, is probably definitely a more balanced squad, but possibly a better squad overall
I think so. I think that we were talking about it off air earlier. I think Macca said that defensively in particular, they look a lot stronger. And I think, when you consider the likes of Ryan Grant and Joel King were playing centre back last year, I don't think that's going to be happening this year.
No.
So I think their recruitment has been really smart. With the foreigners, it always does take a little bit of time for them to adjust to the new league. So I'm also excited for, the next Segicic. I want to see the likes of Quintal hopefully get some more game time. McAllister, he's done really well in pre-season. So I think there's a lot of young talent that we're going to see come through the ranks this season as well.
And Uffy has said that they're tweaking the way they play. He was criticised a little bit for that all-out press, which with two young centre-backs as well, or players who weren't centre-backs being exposed at the back, really did come to bite them in the backside. Now they've got experience back there Tisserand, you've got Alex Grant there who'll be like, whoa, don't all go. Now let's be a little bit more composed, and I think they'll see a lot more of a structured Sydney FC this year.
The other one is Garuccio.
Great signing.
Amazing signing. Fills an absolute need for them. Not that I still really rate Courtney Perkins as a player. I think he's probably got more sort of to offer forward of left back for me, or even as a centre back. I think his left back is in his position.
And Joel King too.
Joel King I rate as well.
He's a former Socceroo kind of left back. So there's
now you've got two competing for that one position, and both very good players. Garuccio experience, knows what it takes, and you put in Marcel Tisserand as well, and that's a back four.
It's a formidable back four.
That is.
That's a very strong back four.
I think, objectively speaking, you'd have to say probably the strongest in the league, I think.
It's up there.
But they start the season, I reckon, under a lot of pressure, particularly Ufuk-Talay, Macca. Like, if they don't go well, say, in the first 3, 4, 5 games, the fans will want him gone straight away.
100%. Well, it was calls at the end of last season for him to go. They've backed him. But, if they don't get off to a quick start, with all those changes as well, so many changes, it could take a little while to bed. And if it doesn't bed quickly...
First 3 games are Adelaide, Mariners, Newcastle. So, in terms of objectively on paper, their 3 games, they have to get at least 6, 7 points, you're thinking.
I'd say 9.
Yeah.
So, on to Melbourne Victory, lads. I don't really know how to feel about these guys. I think you feel a little bit stronger than I do.
Yeah, I do.
They've lost a bit, but they've brought in a bit.
Yeah.
And the most interesting signing, maybe, of the whole competition for me is Juan Mata. We sat here and we spoke a lot last season about why did Western Sydney Wanderers sign Juan Mata if they weren't going to play him? And they didn't play him much. They used him off the bench. And I didn't think another club would take him on.
Yeah.
So Victory have. Are you expecting him to be a starting player every week?
I think he will be.
I think I'm with you as well.
Yeah.
I think they're going to throw him in and say, yes, go and do that. We all know last year there was no 10 for Western Sydney, which that's his position. They play with a 10. They explicitly said that was the kind of player they wanted in that area. And when you've got him sitting in the country going, I'm looking for a club, guys, he's the obvious choice. And I think we'll see, I don't want to say like a breakout season, but you know what I mean? I think we'll see him have a great season.
Best.
Yes.
And because also you look at Victory, often their games are them trying to break down a low block, which works in his favour, I think. And at the Wanderers, Sturgis's team are well known for being really good in transition, but he was getting the ball 70, 80 metres from the opposition goal, which is not where you're going to see him at his best. So I think this is a great move for all parties.
Yeah. We mentioned the World Cup before, and look, as an overall comment, I think for any A-League player to make the World Cup squad this coming season, they're going to have an absolute rip-snorter of a season, because the depth that the Socceroos have built of players who are based overseas is really compelling at the moment. The fight's going to be strong and genuine. And I look at a guy like Nishan Velupillay, who possibly last season played better for the Socceroos than he did for Victory. I think he had some injury problems.
Yep.
We all know he's an impressive player that Tony Popovich really likes.
Yeah.
But what I want to see from him, and what Popper no doubt wants to see as well, is for him to dominate this competition.
I think, you sort of look at a benchmark to go, okay, if you're going to play in the A-League and you want to be in the World Cup, you're looking at 10 goals, 10 assists.
Agree.
With the players we've got now overseas, I think we're seeing the start of a second golden generation. There's these young players going overseas and getting minutes overseas. So I think you're going to have to be really dominating and getting good numbers as well. But in saying that, I would say Nishan probably wasn't playing his best when he got called up last year, and the Socceroos' fortunes changed this season, and then off the back of that, he became better.
And also no Fornaroli in the picture for Victory this year, so it'd be interesting to see how they use him as well, because obviously they got Virgos in that 9 role, who's probably expected to start, but he's also capable of playing in that position, so he might feature there at some point as well. So
Western Sydney Wanderers, as we mentioned, Juan Mata is out. They've brought in Angus Thurgate, probably the best Western United refugee, let's say. Number 2 in the Johnny Warren medal. So they've brought him in. They've got Stephen Ugarkovic in as well, which for me raises the question, what is the role that Josh Belanti plays in this team? Because you've got 3 midfielders who I think we will be expecting to start every week. They're all similar-ish sort of players, similar-ish sort of roles.
Yep.
How does Alan Stajic make this one fit, Macca?
Well, you said off air that maybe he has to tinker with his formation. I think last year we saw that he won't tinker with his formation to accommodate anyone. And I think there's going to be one of them who was upset every week. And that's when you've got 3 such experienced players with such quality. Could that be the one that sort of starts to trickle a little bit of resentment through the squad when it's like, well, I'm not playing it. But look, what you want is depth in those positions. Yeah. So they've got to fight it out at training to see who holds that spot. And all 3 of them could put their hand up to say, well, I should be starting.
Absolutely. I think if you look at their recruitment in the off-season, they've gone for kind of known quantities in the A-League, players with A-League experience. So I don't think there'll be as much as of a transition in terms of these players getting up to speed with the competition, which will work in their favour. Also, signing the likes of Barbarousis, we know he's a player in transition. You said it off air. Maybe the best ever A-League player in transition. I think he's a shrewd signing. Knowing how Stajic plays or sets his team up, I think, there's going to be a lot of reliance on him, but I think he's a great signing.
I also think Alu Kuol might not be a bad signing either. I've still got a bit of faith in him in terms of the player that he can be, and the best that we've seen from him was under Alan Stajic at the Mariners.
Yep.
So that's not a bad option to have off the bench, particularly in the last half an hour of a game. Things get a little bit chaotic. He's a sort of chaotic player.
Yeah. He does cause problems with his runs.
The Matt Simon effect.
Yeah, exactly. And he does cause problems with that energy. Yeah. But they've lost a lot in that front third, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see how a couple of injuries, I think, could derail their season very quickly.
Yeah. MacArthur, maybe, would we call them dark horses to win this whole thing?
I think
I would. Yeah, they're stacked.
Yeah, and I think Caceres and Bratton, 2 of the great A-League midfielders, obviously rekindling their former partnership.
Well, they've gone with experience here this season, mostly. Exactly. What derailed their season last year was selling all their good kids in January, and obviously the club had to do that for financial reasons, and it's good that they do.
Yeah.
But now they've got a team that probably won't be broken up come January.
Well, you're saying they're all too old to be sold.
But resale value isn't there.
But Damien De Silva comes into the back line. He was immense when he was at Victory. I was really impressed with Politidis over the last couple of years. I think he's a really good up-and-coming player. Yeah. I just feel across that front line, when you talk about the foreigners that have come in as well, Dongwon, Shimi Guzan and Rafael Duran, they've quality in that front third.
Economides as well.
I keep forgetting about this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not to mention Cassio's lads as well, who are
Bernardo,
both of them, Enrique as well, who are in the conversations I have about who are the best kids coming through. Both of those get mentioned all the time.
And we've seen in the ACL too, they're starting this A-League comp ready to play. They're already match fit. I think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
And I think being the ACL too, where we expect them to win more games than lose, hopefully, and go a long way. That breeds confidence. You go away, you get a win. The travel effect is sort of negated a little bit. When you're winning, it's like, we travel, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When you're going away and you're losing,
Melbourne City,
it becomes hard. It becomes a grind.
Can you believe Sydney FC were prepared to let Caceres go? I know they've got a player in Paul Ocon Jr. who might fill that role for them, but potentially really well.
Yeah.
But that is an incredibly good signing for MacArthur.
I think because Cass has been one of the top 3 players in the league for the last 10 years. Yeah. I think he's been exceptional. I think he's been underrated by a lot of people for a long time.
People were upset he got called up for the Socceroos, and I couldn't understand that myself.
I was surprised it took so long.
Yeah.
And the reasoning I was given why he hadn't got called up before was because of the numbers.
Yeah.
Not enough assists, not enough goals, but the work he does, that Gretzky pass, they call it overseas, where he lays the ball in for the person to set up the goal. He breaks open the play for them to go forward. I think he's an immense player, and that's a really big signing.
With him and Bratton in the midfield, you can almost give those 2 the ball under any situation, and they're going to not only keep the ball, but carve something out, like you said. So there's not many midfield combinations in the league that can do that, and I think that they're probably going to go into games dominating possession and trying to break down the other teams, which is not something we've always seen with MacArthur.
No. Looking forward to seeing how they go. The next category, lads, are I guess we'll call them the improvers, the teams that we think could break into this top half of the ladder after some different struggles last season. We'll start with Newcastle, who I'm pretty excited about. I always had a feeling that Mark Milligan was going to make an excellent senior coach. We don't know yet, really, but so far so good with winning the Australia Cup. It's a sensational achievement, and the way they're playing, from what I've seen so far, fills me with a lot of encouragement, Naka.
Yeah, well, look, about a week or two into his tenure, I ran into some of the players and I said, how's it going? They're like, it's awesome. From the minute he's on the park, you know exactly the way we wanted to play. He's very concise on how we want to play, and off the park, he's just a good guy that they can feel comfortable around as well. Now that's all good and well when you're winning and and you're lifting silverware. Maybe when it gets a little tough, they might see a little bit of an angrier Mark Milligan, but he's been willing to, and whether it has to or not, he's been willing to throw young players in. I do know for a fact that they only had 3 scholarships, and he said, "No, we want 7." And he's gone and given another 4 scholarships, so he's willing, you know, come through that Adelaide system where they give the kids a chance, and he sees it that if you give them a chance, people say, oh, well, if they can get a chance, well, I can get a chance as well. And it lifts the momentum around the club.
And I think it also shouldn't be understated how much winning a trophy does for the self-belief within the squad, because especially if you look at the makeup of their squad, it's not only these young players, but also players who have maybe had a couple of A-League clubs and have yet to really stamp their mark on the league. And now to have a trophy, I think that instills so much confidence in the team, and now anything that Millsy says to the group is going to have, you know, the utmost authority and the players will have the utmost belief in what he's saying. So I think that shouldn't be understated as well, and I think that they're in a good position to challenge for a finals place for sure.
And Maxi Burgess, let's just say Maxi Burgess.
That's honestly one of the more interesting signings of the off-season. Another one that, you know, is possibly Sydney FC will regret letting go. I could never understand why they weren't prepared to make more of a effort to integrate him into the way they wanted to play, because he's a pretty unique and special player. We don't make a lot of Maxi Burgess type players in Australia, and Millsy's obviously seen that and gone, righto, I'll have you.
I think a good kind of comparison is if you look at Jack Grealish at City, he was not really given a kind of much of a role, and then he went to Everton and now he's absolutely killing it. And they're similar kind of players. You can see the exact same thing happening here.
Kind of a player you want to just say, go and express yourself. In those areas, go and express yourself, because we can't control that. Your wand of a foot, just go and do it. And you know, don't put so many restrictions on him and just go. And he's relishing it. He's loving it.
Adelaide United boys, another interesting off-season down there. They've made some interesting signings as well. Some, it looks like most of them actually directly from Malaysia. We'll see how that works out. I mean, the big one though, I mean, they've lost one Goodwin and brought in another. I think it's a little bit like there must always be a Stark in Winterfell. There's always got to be one Goodwin in Adelaide. So they've brought back Craig Goodwin, which is outstanding.
All-time top scorer of the club, absolute club legend. You know, I think that I must say I think there is a bit of pressure on him going into this season. I think that there are question marks around Adelaide as a whole, but with him there, I think that it kind of galvanises the group. You got that someone it's a get out of jail free card. If he can kind of replicate the form that he's shown previously in the A-League, I think he's primed for a huge impact yet again.
How do you rate their business overall, Macca, aside from Craig?
It's okay. My biggest worry is they conceded so many goals last year, and there hasn't been too much in the way of strengthening at the back. Okay, they got young Kikianis and they got Bart Vreens there, but I was sort of expecting them to go, right, we're going to bring in another senior centre back to force or put pressure on those guys. They shipped that many goals last year. You thought that was my first thing, is let's shore up at the back, and they would have been title contenders if they didn't fall off the wheel and score. They conceded, I think it was like 26 goals in 6 games at one stage, and that's when all the wheels fell off.
And when you consider that Piraeus played right back, he's not naturally a defender. They didn't really reinforce that area, so I think there are still big question marks.
Well, how much of that do you think gets addressed by the signing of Joshua Smits, the goalkeeper who is Dutch? So we don't often see foreign goalkeepers in the competition. When we do see them, they need to be really good. I think a lot of the goals they conceded last season, or some of them at least, were down to some individual errors by the goalkeepers they had in that position. So if he can fix that, I feel a lot better about their defence overall.
It's amazing how much confidence a good goalkeeper behind you breeds in the team. It's 100%. Incredible how much of an effect that has. So if he is, and we've seen some great foreign goalkeepers in the league, but if he is, as his CV suggests he is, a really good experienced goalkeeper, then for sure he'll make an impact.
Let's hear a bit now from Craig Goodwin about his journey in the A-League.
And the run from Craig Goodwin, nobody's picked him up, he's onside! Oh, that is fantastic! Absolutely brilliant from the Reds and from Craig Goodwin.
I remember going to the first game of Adelaide United. I'm sitting in the stands with my family. Probably the big one that I used to watch when I was a bit younger was Nathan Burns. Very good young player, classy player, good dribbler, someone that I looked up to when I was sitting in the stands. My debut was with Melbourne Heart John Van Skip told me that I'd be starting at left back. The first 4 years of my career, I've fought against being a left back because I played so well in that game. My debut, I got man of the match, and the only thing that would have made it better would have been if Ante Kovic hadn't made an unbelievable save to stop me from scoring a volley from outside the box.
Breaks in for Goodwin! What a wonderful save, Ante Kovic! And young Craig Goodwin can scarcely believe he hasn't scored on debut.
It's hard to look past the championship winning year, 2016. I could sit here and say winning the Johnny Warren, but I would probably go to my first goal, which was the Del Piero-Heskey clash at Sydney Football Stadium, packed venue very early on, realising that it was a big occasion. I was standing in the wall when Del Piero scored his free kick, and it was one of those moments where you're like, oh, fuck. And of course, Heskey played with Liverpool, which is my team as a kid. Second goal, he scored. I was right close to him, jumped on his back, celebrated. I had blonde hair back then as well. Big occasion to score my first goal in a game like that.
Now Goodwin, onside, chance for 3. Craig Goodwin scores his first A-League goal.
It's an incredible feeling to be able to create those moments. And I think from that, I hope that the moments that I've created for kids can push them on to make even more memories than what I've been able to achieve. That hopefully I can one day be sitting in the stands and watching these boys dominate on the world stage.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realise he was on Heskey's back for that celebration. That's so cool.
Just trying to get in the photos.
And Craig Goodwin, you know, I'm a little bit biased just because where I come from, but there's seriously a strong case that he's the greatest footballer South Australia's ever produced. You know, chuck up John Aloisi as well, and probably a couple others.
There's
but
a few other names that are up there.
Oh, without doubt. But Craig Goodwin scored at a World Cup, won a Johnny Warren medal, and what he means to Adelaide United can't be understated. Like, in Adelaide, he's a god of football.
He's part of the DNA.
He is, yeah.
Brisbane Roar is our final, improvers I think we're going to see from this season, and it's an interesting one, Macca. I think we've all felt the vibes, the change. Michael Valkanis has come in, brought in a lot of players. There's been a lot of praise for their social media activity as well, the outreach they've done in pre-season. It feels good what's happening up there.
Yeah, they're reaching out to the... Sorry, go on.
No, but...
But, yes.
It feels good. I don't know if people are prepared for some of the football they're going to be playing, Macca. You've seen them in pre-season.
I haven't actually seen them myself, but I have been told by all and sundry that they are the Kung Fu fighters of the A-League this year, that from the very first minute of games, we'll take one in particular, they played in a pre-season friendly, it was supposed to be 30 minutes, and from the first minute they just started kicking the opposition, or dominating physically the opposition, and after the 30 minutes the opposition said, we've had enough, that's done, because it was almost a fight from the very first minute. Right. Now, I've heard that from about 3 or 4 different games they've played in. So this is a team that is going to, not only we heard Valkanis, we've heard him say that they want to play, good football, but they're going to try and physically dominate teams. And this A-League now, with so many young players, if you're going to try and dominate teams, that's the league to do it in.
Yeah.
Go out there and say, right, young boys, can you stand up to us? We are going to put you under pressure physically. Now, as long as it doesn't cross the line into bad challenges, it's a difference. It's a definite way to a ploy to get the upper hand.
Yeah. Let's hear a little bit now from the new gaffer, Michael Valkanis.
What the people really want to see. They want to see a team that's going to not only play good football, but fight for them as well, and never give up and just give 100%, make them proud. And I think they felt that going around giving autographs, taking photos, people were thanking us for what we gave them today. And that I love, because I want the players to listen to that. I want the players to hear that, because it's so important what we've done so far, going out to different teams in the community, different regions, because I wanted that connection with the players and our supporters, and we're getting that. And I wanted to jump on this journey with us. They've got to feel this, what we're trying to do, and together achieve something special this year. Come on the journey with us, become members, support these guys. They're going to give everything.
Boys, on to the last 3 teams, our strugglers, I think. We hope they don't struggle as much as we suspect some of them might, but someone's got to be in that position on the ladder, I reckon. Well, not I reckon. That's how it works. Perth Glory have made some very good signings, Tommy. But why have we put them there, though?
No, I think that, 2 2 wooden spoons in a row. I think he's the manager probably under the most pressure going into this season, and it takes new players time to gel. I do think this is a much stronger squad with more proven A-League quality in it.
Yeah,
to be honest, I'm backing them. I don't think they're going to get the spoon. I think that they'll be hopeful of getting in the 6. Whether or not they can do that, I'm not sure, but I don't think this will be the same Perth that we saw last season.
Macca?
They've strengthened considerably at the back. Wooten, Caltac, Sutton as well.
Even Birigidi, who
Correct.
bit of a question mark in terms of being out of the game,
he's
but he's a good player.
He's experienced, a quality player. He's been around. He'll get himself back up to the mark, no problems. And I think that was their biggest problem last year. I just wonder if they're going to come out and try to play that high pressing style that brought them undone at the start of last year, and then there was no recovering back from that. It hasn't been the most successful pre-season. Lost most of their games, but in saying that, last year they won most of their games, got to the season and it all fell apart. Yeah. So hopefully, there is no way but up for them.
Yeah.
Wellington Phoenix have obviously lost their talisman, Costa Barbarouses. What gives you, if you have any optimism for them, Tommy, what gives you that?
Well, I think you just kind of touched on it with Perth, that the only way is up. I think last year they were very underwhelming. They played a very negative kind of brand of football. And obviously losing Barbarouses, he scored nearly 50% of their goals last year. But I have heard good things about their new signing, Eze, who scored 2 goals against the Mariners on the weekend in their last final hit-out before the season. So I think there is enough reason to be optimistic, and I think they'll be hoping they can rekindle their form from a couple of seasons ago.
What I also liked from last season, or the start of this season, is Chiefy came out and said, I lost myself a little bit last year. When things started to go a little bit awry, I probably didn't give the players the right things that they needed. So he's self-evaluated, gone away and said, I'm going to be a better coach this year because of that. I've learnt from that. And that's quality here, because it would be very easy for him to point at the players, we couldn't get this, or the club couldn't get me these. Yeah. But he's put his hand up and said, I need to be better. And I love that from him.
I respect it, and I look forward to seeing what the result is on the pitch. The Central Coast Mariners, look, I've got them rock bottom, and only because it seems to be a pretty unstable environment in almost every aspect. Obviously, losing Mark Jackson a week before the season is never good. There's never good reasons for that. A lot of question marks about recruitment, off-field, etc. Who's in charge? What's going on there?
Yeah.
I hope they go well, but I can't make a case for them, to be honest.
No, I think, they obviously brought in with the likes of Redmayne, Donaghy. I think defensively they've got enough experience to kind of be difficult to beat. But, when you consider last year their biggest issue, or one of their glaring issues, was goal scoring. They've lost Docker, who was their most creative player. They've lost Qual and not replaced him. So it's even slimmer pickings than it was last year. So I think goal scoring for them is going to be a huge problem this year.
And I think youngster Haynes is going to be pivotal for him. He's still only young, but he has very, very big raps on him. If he can get on the ball, start to control the game a little bit, but I just don't see there's enough around him for him to be able to shine as much as we all hope he could. Yeah. He's obviously a very good young talent, but like you say, the recruitment, it's been very, very thin. We don't know what's happening really with the ownership, all that stuff. That we don't have a coach in place at the moment. I feel for the Mariners fans. I think it's going to be another long season.
It's only rocks or diamonds for them.
Yeah.
It's either
no in between.
A treble or a wooden spoon. That's just how it goes. That's football. To finish off, lads, our predictions for the season ahead. We'll start with your pick for premiers. So top of the ladder. Mine is Auckland. Tommy?
I'm going to say Melbourne victory.
Okay.
Yeah. City.
Johnny Warren medalist.
I said mine.
You did.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. I'm picking more out of hope. I want this to happen. And I think it's a really good chance. Nishan Velupillay. Take this league by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah.
Be the dominant player for Melbourne victory. And bash your way into the World Cup squad.
Well, Tommy poo-pooed mine off air. I thought that Kai Truan could get it. I think he's going to have a massive year for City, whether that's in the heart of the defence or as number 6. He had such a good season last year, and I just see him getting better and better this year. But apparently, players in those positions don't get it.
I'm a huge fan of his. But when was the last centre-back? Who was the last centre-back that won it?
He's going to break the mould.
There you go. I would love to see it.
Yeah. And finally, the Golden Boot this season, Costa Barbarouses. Yeah. And I think if Western Sydney Wanderers fire, he will score a lot of goals. So he's my pick.
Well, I think that I think they need him to score those goals to win this league. And I think that'll be the messaging internally. I think they have enough quality in their squad to win it. And I think he needs to almost win the Golden Boot for them to do that. But he's actually my pick as well.
Well, it's always a difficult one with foreign players that you haven't seen yourself play, but I think Sam Cosgrove from Auckland, I think they're going to be a force this year, as we've already said. I think with De Vries's balls in, the set pieces, the long throws, I think he's just going to be an annoyance
handful.
and a real big handful. And we've seen a little bit of quality from him in the Australia Cup early on.
Very good. Just before we go, let's have a look at the round 1 fixtures. This is what's coming up this weekend. What's your pick here, gentlemen?
Oof.
The pick of the round?
Yeah, obviously Mariners versus Newcastle Jets there.
I'm going for grand final replay. A Melbourne victory, Auckland, the final replay.
Yeah.
Auckland will be wanting to get one back on hand.
Saturday looks stacked, actually, to be honest.
is.
I think those 2 first games are going to be interesting, and then the last one's going to tell us a little bit more about where Perth and Wellington both sit.
Yep.
I've got absolutely no idea. That's one of the great things about this league. Everything we've just said could be irrelevant very soon because this thing just throws up so many surprises, which is personally why I love it.
Yeah, you always feel like any team could beat any team on any day, don't you?
It's true.
Very good. Episode 1 in the can. Thank you, boys. Welcome, Macca.
Thanks for having me. Loved it.
Great.
We'll see you next week.